Some words quickly take you places. Manhattan, the Caribbean, the Far East, Paris, the Berkshires, where Bostonians decamp for the summer. Growing up in Jersey, down the shore was the beach, Long Beach Island, where we would go as a family in the summers. This takes me to a very sentimental place. I'm very small, very blonde, and one time got very lost because I didn't know my address. But more recently, in the last 10 years for me, there's upstate. A conventional definition is upstate is anything north of the New York metropolitan area. So that would be north of, say, Westchester County on the east side of the Hudson, and north of Rockland County on the west side of the Hudson. As someone from further north like Albany or further west like Rochester, and places like the Mid-Hudson Valley might even be considered from their point of view, downstate. Most people would agree, though, the idea of upstate is rural. It's a different state of mind from the city, not just a geography, maybe even a shift in your mood. For me and Brian, our first years of driving back and forth from the city as weekenders, the border of upstate for us was this little bend on the Taconic State Highway, leaving Putnam County, entering Dutchess, when the sky just opens up and you can see the hills in front of you, the mountains to the west, and going north you just exhale. You feel the weekend coming. I swear my blood pressure would go down. The reverse was also true. Going south on the Taconic on a Monday, you felt the valley at your back and the road felt narrower as you headed towards the city, the pressures of career, of concrete, commerce, and crowds impending. But north is my direction, upstate in body and mind. And when I'm upstate, I start to chill.
It's a new way of living and I'm trying to get used to it. One park poodles have an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.
I'm Matt Zucker, and this is Cidiot, learning to live and love life in the country. Even as America becomes one big shopping mall and brands are everywhere, there still are vestiges of local brands and local language. If you saw some of the photos from our shoot for the Cidiot anthem, you'll see that we're dressed in a certain spirit of being and living upstate. In fact, maybe you noticed that on Paul's shirt and on my hat, the phrase Upstate and Chill. This is no accident. It's a lyric in the song and a trademark phrase of Hamilton and Adams, a business here in Kingston, New York, that we've gotten to know well. Hamilton and Adams, you'll learn about the story of the name later in the episode, is all about being comfortable and looking sharp. I love their brand design, the logo of binoculars, encouraging curiosity. This episode, you'll meet Andrew Adada, the Adams in Hamilton and Adams, and hear about his story to the Hudson Valley, opening up a business here, how to think about what to wear up here, and of course, his favorite spot in the Hudson Valley and more. So remember to download the Cidiot song yourself from links on the music page at cidiot.com. And right now, come meet Cidiot friend and collaborator, Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Hey, thanks for coming on Cidiot. It's so funny. I've known you for years, really, but we've only talked in short bursts when I'm in the store.
Yeah, hopefully you don't get sick of me by the end of this conversation.
I doubt it. So anyway, tell me your story. You know, I discovered your store because like everyone knows Hamilton and Adams, but I don't know your story about coming up here because I think you're from Buffalo, right?
I grew up outside of Buffalo, went to college in Alfred. I have a degree in horticulture. Then I decided I didn't want to do that. And then transferred and went to Cornell and got a degree in marketing and was adamant that I wasn't going to move to New York City. So I spent like the next 20 years or 15 years kind of bouncing between Boston, San Francisco, and eventually career couldn't keep me out of New York City. and met a guy as soon as I moved to New York. We came up to Ulster County to visit friends one weekend. And that very first day that I came to Ulster County, I said, we're going to live here. It
When
felt
was that?
like
When was that?
that would have been Labor Day of 2010. No, sorry, 2009. 2009. It was the perfect sunny summer Friday. Our friends were driving and I was in the back seat and we were coming up in Upper Mohonk. And I was like, this is beautiful. This is the perfect mix of, the rural area that I had grown up from. And I said to Clark that day, I was like, we're going to live here. And he's like, no, we're not.
Wait, so did you have a job?
Yeah. I was working for DKNY at the time. I moved to New York to work for DKNY. And so then I slowly convinced Clark that we needed to look for a house. And we did that for a couple of years. This was before there was really a big to spend time upstate like there is these days. And we wound up building a house, actually, because that was the only thing we could agree on. And as you know, everyone's willing to compromise on certain things, but if those compromises don't overlap at all, you're kind of still not moving the ball forward at all. So yeah.
How'd you go from DKNY to opening a store?
Well, my whole career has really been in retail, and I love product and I love people, and I'm generally kind of organized, and I love to make the connection. Like, oh, this is what we have. What are you looking for? If that's not it, once I decided it was a good career for me, I was successful at it. And Clark and I are a good team. I think you guys are a good team as well. And you realize like what you're good at and what each other, your strengths and weaknesses, like your own like personal SWOT, right? We've always talked about opening a business together, and we were in Uptown Kingston. It was Small Business Saturday of 2016, and we had lunch at Yum Yum Noodle Bar, and we were walking over to see friends who had a shop on Wall Street, the guys at Exit 19, and there was a for rent sign in one of the spaces, and it couldn't have been a sadder storefront. It was an office, and it was empty and abandoned, and it had like a big for rent sign on it. And I was like, oh, we're not opening a business here. This is not the right time. How everyone's like, oh, it's never the right time. Well, it really wasn't the right time at all for us. And Clark just said, he's like, listen, why don't you just call and find out how much the rent is? And, and so we did. And I was like, oh, that's reasonable. We could make a business with that. And next thing I knew, we were signing a lease and fleshing out our business plan and opening Hamilton and Adams.
And how do you decide on Hamilton and Adams as the name?
It's our middle names. So that was actually super easy. Like we wanted.
Oh, I thought it was some weird colonial Hamilton.
No, couldn't be further from the truth. No, my middle name is Adam. His middle name is Hamilton. When we first started dating, I was like, Hamilton. This is long before the show. And we've been together almost 14 years. So I called him Hamilton. Like, it's a great name. No one's called Hamilton. Not these days. And it just kind of sucks. So when we're trying to figure out what's called the business, if it didn't work, our original concept was men's only, right? Men's clothing and accessories. And we wanted it to the name should sort of make sense if that was what you walked in and you saw that. But if it didn't work, we could keep the name and pivot to something else. It also kind of worked for the historic neighborhood that we're in. So it just checked kind of all the boxes. We aligned on in like 6 minutes one morning. It was like, oh yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Great. I tried a couple times, like, is it Adam and Hamilton or Adams and Hamilton? But it looks better with the Hamilton over the Adams. So
yeah, no, it's really great too. And Uptown Kingston is cute and historic. What was it like when you first moved in? Was it like it is now?
Yeah, I love Kingston. Kingston's a really special place. It's big, but it's small. There's 3 really distinct neighborhoods that have kind of ebbed and flowed together throughout the decades and centuries. And, there's tens of thousands of people who live in Kingston, and even, so much more when you look at Ulster County and Dutchess County across the river. And there just really weren't that many shops of any type. Since we've been living in Ulster County, there's always been a lot of restaurants and offices in the Uptown Kingston, but there just weren't a lot of shops. Like our friends at Exit 19 had opened, and it just seemed like an opportunity. And we had said from the beginning, we'll let the community and the area kind of guide us in what we do. And I think that's been one of our successes, is like sticking true to things that we like to sell, or products we like, or brands we like to work with, but also what's the customer want to buy, because at the end of the day, if you're selling stuff that people don't want to buy or can't buy, you're not going to be in business for very long. So,
And I talk about newcomers a lot as one, and the show's sort of a guide for them too. And you're a newcomer in two ways. I mean, you were both new to the area, and
yeah.
then you are an outsider as a business owner then, not now. Now you're like an ultimate insider. Do you
Yeah.
remember what it was like to be new?
So I remember what it was like to be new. I just felt like I needed to go out and meet as many people as possible. Like going into every business and going to eat as many places as possible, and trying to learn the folks, especially not only across Kingston, but just especially in our neighborhood within walking distance of the shop. It's not that big for anyone who's been around. It's 6 square blocks. It's really that it doesn't take that long. I've been in the business full time since the beginning. Clark still has another job. I'm a relationship person, trying to build a relationship with everybody and learn who was maybe in business a year before us, who's been there for 40 years, like this woman, Teresa, around the corner, Karen from Bop to Totem, which is like 2 blocks from us. Karen came and found me like when we were looking at the space, and she was like, oh my gosh, you're going to open a men's store? I've been trying to get someone to do that for so long. She's like, please, I remember that day like it was yesterday too. So, and then I distinctly remember the day that we weren't so new anymore. And Clark and I were out at lunch, and a couple folks had said hi to us, and he was like, who are those people? I'm like, they're customers. Like, and we've used ourselves in our advertising since the beginning because it's our name and we work for free basically. We're not models. And realizing that just people in the community knew who we were just from seeing our whether it was Instagram ads or from the website or the print ads we've done in the past and stuff like that. So I just simply remember that shift from being new to not being new.
And what about advice for like another newcomer, whether it's somebody moving here or maybe like a lot of us think about opening a business? I don't know if you have any advice.
I think for like people who are thinking about moving to the Hudson Valley or upstate in general, think about what you want your life to be like. Think about why are you making a change. For me, coming here, it was kind of like a return to my roots. The town I grew up in outside of Buffalo, we had one stoplight. I worked on a farm. I know how to drive a tractor and pick corn, and like I had that. Yeah. I had that quintessential, which is why I got a degree in horticulture. I thought I wanted to have like a garden center greenhouse, like maybe like a Saunders Kale farm or Davenport farm kind of situation meets the Phantom Gardener for those folks who are over outside of Rhinebeck. But then you realize that like you have to work even harder than when you have a store and you're out in the inclement weather. It's not ideal.
Let me ask you about the design of some of your stuff, because some of it's very distinct. There's like an interesting map of New York State, and New York better. You grew up here, and then there's this line Upstate and Chill, which you've trademarked, which I think has become fairly iconic, and people really know. What is that like? How did that come about, and what does that mean?
Well, Upstate and Chill came about. It was a shower idea. I think we had just opened, and we were having the conversation about rolling out a line of our own graphic tees. That was a plan from the beginning. It's like, well, we're going to sell brands that we want to do business with, who we believe in their business values, and there's a kind of a criteria of things that we want to see from people we work with. But then also we wanted to have our own products. That's why people shop in a local business. It's sort of that unique stuff that you can't find elsewhere. So I was in the shower one morning, and I think maybe a little bit of my roots growing up in Buffalo, it was like Upstate and Chill. It was just, I don't know. It was just, I vividly remember coming down the stairs excited about like, oh, this is going to be our graphic t-shirt. And Clark was like, yeah, I don't think so. He was not sold at all. And he was like, okay, well, he's like, just order like a few. And, for those of you, and for those of the people who are listening who know me, like, I don't do things small very well. Like when I do something, I really like do it. So of course I ordered a lot. And we sold like in the first week and a half, like we sold out of the first round of t-shirts of Upstate and Chill. The rest is, they say it's history, right? So, we have a bunch of different styles of graphics with that. And we just see color iterations, and it's on mugs, and, the novelty of it. It's fun. People who live in the area are excited to see some pride in Upstate New York. And Upstate New York as a destination has really grown. This was happening before COVID, and COVID has just accelerated this, right? Like, if Texas is a vibe and California is a vibe for a product, whether for novelty product, and like Black Dog is a vibe, like it's Martha's Vineyard, like that has a whole following. Upstate New York is right in that vein as well. We're not the only ones selling upstate themed products. Like we just have our own position and point of view on it. So
Do you have to protect that phrase?
Upstate and Chill. Yeah, so we trademarked that. Once we started having some success with that product right away, it was actually a customer was in the store one day, she and her husband, and she's like, I'm a trademark lawyer and I'd love to help you. She's like, I think you're onto something here. I'm like, great. And, her law firm definitely, it took trademarking things takes forever and it takes a lot of money, but they were extremely helpful for us. And that's another piece of advice for people who are thinking about starting their own business. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You can be the smartest person in the world, but you're still going to need help. Steve Jobs has asked for help. Jeff Bezos, I'm sure, asked for help somehow, somewhere from people. Everyone needs help with things that they either don't know how to do or don't have time to do or aren't the expert at. And that is some sage advice.
I think it's also fun to collaborate with others. I mean, when Paul and Ben and I, we were writing the song for Cidiot, and they put Upstate and Chill as a lyric, I'm like, oh shit, we better go ask Andrew first of all. Or is it art? Maybe he can't do
that. They did that before you knew.
Yeah, and
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, and it was very natural, and I'm like, I think he trademarked this. Like, are we art? Maybe we can get it. Like, but then Paul had the idea of like, well, actually, let's go do the shoot. Maybe they would like dress us. Wouldn't that be fun? And so that's how that came about. And you generously dressed us for our shoot. And Paul's wearing Upstate and Chill, and it fits the whole shtick.
It's like perfect.
Really well. Yeah. It was just a great way to collaborate.
It made perfect sense.
Thank you for saying yes. We didn't really have a plan B.
Of course. I mean, as long as we have the bandwidth on things, we like to say yes as much as possible.
And what about advice for newcomers, whether you're a weekender or visiting, in terms of wardrobe? This isn't the Hamptons, right? So like you're the expert, right? What do I need to have in my wardrobe to have a successful weekender life up here?
This just goes for everybody. I think it's about being comfortable and having clothes that are easy to care for, that fit you well, and they're sort of timeless in style. We are not a fashion shop or fashion brand by any, cutting edge. It's about physically being comfortable, but then also being able to be comfortable in your environment. For people who haven't spent a lot of time up here, like you're in the car a lot, right? So your big, fancy, expensive parka that you wear throughout the city because you're walking in on the subway, you don't necessarily need that much up here because you're going from the car to a building. But you need a different type of coat because you're out walking the dog and it's sleeting and windy, and your big, fancy parka might not be ready for the right thing for that. So when we started with Just Men's, it was like everything had to be soft. Even every button down we had, the majority of them didn't need to be ironed. It was like wash and wear, easy. You don't have to think. And it's like, well, it's a modern fit, but it's not too slim and it's not too tight. And you should be able to hop in the car or on the train and go to the city for the day and go to a show and come back. And if you wind up on a farm for dinner, you're still dressed appropriately as well. So
yeah. Always be ready for dinner on a farm. Andrew has a special offer for Cidiot listeners. Visit the new Hamilton and Andrews website and use code CIDIOT for 15% off anything. That's right, you can explore the Upstate and Chill collection, as well as a ton of amazing comfortable clothes for men and women, plus gifts and other merchandise for your home and personal care. Visit Hamilton and Adams and use the code CIDIOT for 15% off. Now let's get back to our chat with Andrew, which includes some Hudson Valley geography. One thing my brother-in-law Adam likes me to ask everybody is to find out their secret or not so secret go-to place in the Hudson Valley. Will you secretly share ours? I won't tell anyone.
So one of the things that I recommend to everybody, because it is wildly popular already, is Minnewaska State Park. It's New York State's largest park. I think it is one of the most beautiful areas, and there's a very easy hike around the lake that you can do in sneakers. So if you're coming upstate to go hiking and you are not a hiker, like, it's a very easy.
I interviewed the mountain hiking expert. I mean, I can't do any of the things he recommended. I'm terrified. Where is this park?
Minnewaska. It's right next to Mohawk. So just outside of New Paltz, Kerhonkson area. It's right on the ridge of the Shawgong, the Gonks, as anyone locally would call them. It's very easy to get to. It's very accessible. The state has built a beautiful brand new visitor center there, which is, I mean, before it was like a kind of falling over like 4-way sign that was about as big as my dining room table. Now it's this huge, beautiful visitor welcome center. If you're a serious hiker, there are a ton of really great trails there. but also if you're just a casual, like, oh, I want to do something different, it's a really easy hike around the lake, and you can get some great pictures and experience nature.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Funny hiking story. This is a very Cidiot story. I think our first summer, I surprised Clark, and we were going to go do the fire tower over at Ferncliff. Are you familiar with Ferncliff?
Yeah, Brian and I tried to do that, but we didn't.
So, I mean, I did like zero research other than like knowing where the parking lot was. We get there, and I didn't tell him what we were doing. So we're both wearing flip-flops. This is such a Cidiot thing. This is like at this point, I was definitely too old to have made this mistake. So we get there, we're wearing flip-flops, and we like to explore, which kind of goes along with some of the products we sell and stuff like, like Stay Curious and all that stuff that we have at the store. So we're on a trail. We take like the long trail around to get to the to get to the tower in flip-flops, and there is poison ivy everywhere. I mean, it is just like literally a forest of poison ivy. I mean, so bad. We're like walking single file, and then we finally were like, okay, we can't keep going on this trail. We either need to double back, or we need to like exit out. And we like found a pathway through the woods out to the road, and like walked back on the road and got in the car and left. It was like so,
So you never did the tower. You haven't climbed the tower.
No, it's the only fire tower that I haven't done. I've done all the rest of them. They're great. I absolutely recommend that to people if they have if it's in their ability range.
That's a great Cidiot story.
Perfect Cidiot story. Yeah.
Have you noticed any like very Cidiot behavior in the store?
Most people are great. Like you can definitely tell when someone's upstate and they don't want to be. This is not your place then. You can just their energy and their aura is not great. And it's like you probably made the wrong turn out of Manhattan. Should have gone east instead of north. So
do you get any celebrities in the store?
We do. Definitely will not talk about it because we respect their privacy.
Of course you do.
We were very grateful for our celebrity customers. And, I think that is one of the amazing things about Upstate is, people come here to relax. They come here to chill. And we're here because we don't want to be in the Hamptons or out east on Long Island or partying on the Jersey Shore, right? I think that's one of the great things about being here is like you kind of don't know who you're going to run into.
Brian bumped into James Bond to Daniel Craig in the Adams supermarket.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure when you see him around, or Rachel. Well, yeah,
or Rachel, so, even better, Rachel.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like he just wants to get some produce, right?
Yeah. So I'd like to do a game where I mention a town, and you just say the first word that comes to your mind, and then I tell you another town, and we kind of get to capture your view of the Hudson Valley and Catskills. Okay,
let's do it.
Rhinebeck. Don't be mean.
No. Rhinebeck shops.
Kingston.
More than meets the eye.
Woodstock.
Tie-dye.
Andes. I don't even know where
Cider.
That is. Oh. Red Hook.
Farms.
Hudson.
Furniture.
New Paltz.
Mountain views.
Rosendale.
Quirky.
Oh. Saugerties.
Saugerties has great vintage shops.
Catskill.
Americana.
Poughkeepsie.
College Town.
Hyde Park.
FDR.
And a Trader Joe's is coming.
Really?
Really? Who does the designs of your stuff?
We have an amazing designer that we work with. His name's Ryan. He's lived in the area for a long time after college, and he is so good at interpreting what's in my mind for a design and presenting his first take. I'm usually like, that's it. Perfect.
Amazing.
Like maybe just adjust one little thing here or there, like and then all of our graphics are printed right here in Kingston too. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's been amazing to work with these partners. Having spent the majority of my life living in upstate New York, it's so nice to see it gets the credit that it's due.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to download your own copy of the Cidiot Anthem on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, and more. Just visit Cidiot.com, click on the music tab, and you'll find links wherever you want to get it. And be sure to visit Hamilton and Adams and use the code Cidiot for a special 15% off right now. I'm Matt Zucker, and looking forward to sharing much more this season, season number 5 of Cidiot. Come visit.
Down in the valley, moved up from the city. It's a new way of living, and I'm trying to get used to it. 1 park noodles, half an ounce of an idiot. Ordered a Manhattan, and they call me a Cidiot. At first I hurt my feelings, but it's kinda got a ring to it. When you move to the country, they can tell when you're new to it. I'm looking at a place, but I'm trying to keep fitting in. It takes too long to be a local, so for now I'm a Cidiot.
Upstate and chill.